And our fifth main topic today gets submitted to us by Mark, who writes, "Hey, John, Rob, Kris, and Ray." Well, Kris is not with us today, but Kristian is. Just got out of seeing Doctor Strange, and I had a really good time. I managed to avoid most of the major spoilers going in and had a blast. I wanted to know what you guys thought about it overall, and did it live up to the hype for you? Thanks. Well, guys, yesterday, it was game day. We went in there. We did the tailgating. We had the barbecue up. Everything was good. We finally went to go see Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. To say that the hype was pretty extreme is a bit of an understatement, especially once, you know what, the funny thing was, there really wasn't a lot of hype until that trailer dropped with Patrick Stewart in it. Once that happened, all of a sudden everybody started losing their minds. The hype started building up. All these theories started going on, all this stuff. But we got down to it. We brushed aside all the BS. We just got in and we watched the movie. So, for me, did the movie live up to the hype? Mostly. For me, it mostly lived up to the hype. Now, we're going to do an open spoiler discussion about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness on Sunday. Make sure you join us for that. So we're going to keep all of our thoughts to non-spoilery thoughts here. I will just say this, and I kind of mentioned this in our right out of the theater reaction. I thought the movie was very good. I enjoyed it. I thought the first act, which we had already seen a lot of it at CinemaCon, but I thought the first act and I thought the third act were exceptional. I really love the first act. I love the third act. The second act for me was, I don't know, I felt like it just started to get bogged down. It started to get into things that I didn't think were really pertinent to the overall story of what we were doing or focusing on what needed to be focused on. And it lost me for a little bit in the second act. But when it got into the third act, I got right on board. Now, the MCU now has how many movies? 26, 27?
This is 28, Thor's 29, and Wakanda Forever's 30.
Okay, so I came out of the theater and I said, okay, so Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness is not necessarily top 10 MCU for me. And I had some people write to me, holy crap, it didn't even make top 10? Guys, this is the MCU. I mean, you got to be pretty damn good to get into the top 10 of the MCU. I put this on the same level of, I really enjoy the first Ant-Man. I will compare it to like something like the first Ant-Man, kind of projects like that. I didn't quite enjoy it as much as the original Doctor Strange, but I will say this. I think there is a possibility, however unlikely, that Elizabeth Olsen gets a Best Supporting Actress nomination for this.
Man.
I thought she was great.
She was great, but I don't know, that's a tough one.
You know what? It's kind of trendy right now for the Oscars to hand out a couple of comic book movie nominations. And if there's going to be one for acting, I can't see a performance being better than hers in comic book movies this year. And so that might be one, because honestly, whatever you think about the movie, I thought Elizabeth Olsen was incredible in this. I really liked her a lot. I mean, not taking away from good Canadian kid Rachel McAdams, Benedict Cumberbatch, Benedict Wong. I mean, I loved all of them. I thought they all did a really great job. This is definitively a Sam Raimi movie. I mean, this is Sam Raimi's DNA all over it. So I really dug it on that much. So for me, an enjoyable film. I liked it, had a good time. Did it live up to the hyper hype? Not quite, but still a good film, an enjoyable film. I put it on the same rank to say something like an Ant-Man. Rob, you saw it with me. What are your overall thoughts?
Well, I have to say that for me, this was a minor MCU movie. For all the stuff that happens and the ramifications of the multiverse, what I liked about it was it was kind of a contained story. I didn't feel like the rest of even though you're talking about the multiverse and the universes could all be destroyed or whatever, I like this movie because it felt like one friend trying to help another friend who is in need.
Right.
You know, and with all the shenanigans that happened, at its core, it was really what it meant. I mean, obviously we know that Doctor Strange was trying to help Wanda, who was racked with grief, corrupted by the Darkhold, as we see at the end of WandaVision. You know, she's sitting there doing we don't know what. Now we find out. And I kind of really like this movie because it was a Sam Raimi movie through and through. I felt like I was watching a horror fantasy that I might have seen like an early 80s Chinese movie, like battling wizards, you know, on a mountaintop, literally. It had elements of that. Or like a 60s Hammer horror movie. I mean, outside, if I wasn't thinking about the MCU and I was just watching this movie, I would have been like, this is awesome. Like if this movie had come out in like 1984, people would have loved this movie. Sam Raimi's like, from the director of Evil Dead, you know, and the XYZ murders comes Doctor Strange. And it would, and from that perspective, I loved it. I thoroughly loved it. Now, as a wider MCU movie, I got to say, it left me a little disappointed because with all this stuff, like with all the things that they allude to, it wasn't really a big part of the movie. Like, if this movie took out everything and only had Wanda, America Chavez, Doctor Strange, and Wong in it, just about them, no one else, I would still have loved it. With all the extra Sturm and Drang in this movie, whatever. But I loved it as a Sam Raimi Doctor Strange horror fantasy.
By the way, I got to echo something that Ray was saying to me once, because I didn't know that I was going to dig the America Chavez character, to be honest with you. But, you know, I got to tell you, I thought she was a standout. And Ray, I know you really liked her too.
Well, from what we saw at CinemaCon, I was like, oh, this character actually is, or like, I actually care about this character or see what she's about. So I don't know.
I thought she was charming and she was engaged. Yeah. She went toe to toe with the character. I thought
I
really enjoyed it.
She's like, I don't know what the hell's going on. Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Kristian, you had a chance to see this movie. What did you think of Doctor Strange, and did it live up to the hype?
Well, it didn't live up to the hype for me, but it's funny because I echo a lot of the sentiments of what Rob just said, except I think that's a little bit more why I was a little bit more disappointed with it. Like it's my initial score has gone down since originally. I think I gave it like a 3.5 when I saw it. I'm probably at like a 3.1, 3.2 right now. A lot of the stuff did deliver on the Sam Raimi element. If you're a Sam Raimi fan, I think you're going to love this movie. I think there's so much. I think this is peak Sam Raimi. I think this is some of the best Sam Raimi stuff that he's done in a very long time.
Yeah.
And I think the stuff with the horror and the stuff that with the some of the really cool shots and like this peak Raimi stuff and stuff that's in there that I don't want to spoil. You're like, oh, well, there
is some stuff that is truly horrific.
Yes, and
like
major Raimi-isms with humor and stuff. So if you're a Raimi head, you're going to love this movie. I respect Sam Raimi. A lot of the stuff I feel doesn't work for me in today's, the way things are, not just with comic movies, just the way that I watch movies and the way I like movies. And I think that his style sometimes overpowered this movie. And there are emotional moments inside of this movie that I wanted to really be emotionally hooked to, and I was not, because there's a lot of rushing that happens in this movie. You're thrown into things. There's stuff that came out that people have seen, the trailer with the big eyeball monster, that goes on way too long. And there's things like that many people will love. And I just thought there were times that things that weren't earned. There's stuff that happens in this movie. I'm like, okay, now that has been presented, that particular character is taking the ball and running with it. The performances are great, whether it was America Chavez or Wanda or anybody. They run with it, but it's just a matter of how they got there that I think that the style sometimes, the substance was sacrificed because of the style. But I think it is an absolute theater experience. It is a theater experience where you're watching this, and there are times that you're just in awe of what you're watching.
Yeah,
so there are. I enjoyed watching the film. I'm a multiverse junkie, not Marvel, the DC multiverse thing. The idea of the multiverse in general in science, I'm fascinated with. So there are things that they set up in the multiverse, and I'm like, oh my God, that's things I've always thought about. How are they gonna? And it just falls flat sometimes.
Can I say what my biggest disappointment of the film was? And everybody knows Bruce Campbell does a cameo in this film. Yeah, everybody knows that. Yeah. That was my biggest disappointment in the film.
It wasn't great.
It was not good.
That was what I was trying. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about that. But
we won't go into details of what happens. I'm just saying I didn't enjoy the cameo.
But that was the Raimi part of it. It was just like, hey, we work together. You know, this is my buddy. And I think Raimi people.
But he's done that very well with Bruce before.
But I think that,
not here.
Are you a super Raimi head?
No, not a super Raimi.
But that's the thing. I think the Raimi people are going to go nuts during that.
It was very, being possessed by the Necronomicon and all that. It was. But I think like what you were saying, the thing that I wish that they surprisingly they didn't lean into the multiverse of madness enough.
Right.
And they set up one situation that for us comic book fans was really great. But I would like to have seen a lot more of that.
Yeah.
Like I would more multiverse. What are the ramifications of this?
That goes to your hype though that you guys talk about. That's the hype and that's the expectations that I think the problem is a lot of times when movies come out, you put your own expectations in, it can be a detriment to you because you start to think inside of your head what you think is going to happen. But when trailers come out and they start, because it seemed to pitch, whether you just mentioned with Patrick Stewart or whoever it is, it seems like that's what they were pitching. And Kevin Feige actually did an interview right before, and I saw him do this interview where he seems like he was upset with how much was shown in trailers.
Oh, we spoke about this on the show yesterday.
And
he was upset.
He's upset with it because I think that not only for the fact that they showed too much, but the fact that it starts to put, oh, well, this is what it's going to be, because everyone I'm talking to is like, well, that's not really like the multiverse is a thing, but it's not the thing. And it's called the Multiverse of Madness. Like, your title should change, which is fine.
I mean, listen, to me, the best multiverse film of the year is still Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I need to see that movie.
Still my favorite film of the year so far.
I feel like that's where I'm going to see that Nicole Kidman ad.
I think you probably will.
Because that's when I'm going.
All right, guys, the question is for you. Did you have a chance to go and see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? If so, what did you think of it? Did it live up to the hype for you? I'm hearing from a lot of people that absolutely loved it. I'm hearing from people who were disappointed with it. What did you guys feel? But it's got a really good audience score right now. Still a pretty solid critic score. But what were your feelings of it overall? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. We want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, Manscaped. Now, guys, you know I love Manscaped. You've heard me go on and on about the Lawnmower 4.0 and that body wash. I love it so much. And so we got to ask, guys, have you started your spring cleaning yet? The carpets need cleaning, the drapes need dusting, and your lawn needs mowing, gentlemen. And you guys know Manscaped is more than just one product. They have a whole lineup of products to help you guys feeling, smelling, and looking your best. And so Manscaped is proud to present to you the Performance Package 4.0, which is the only tool that you need to keep your boys looking, smelling, and feeling good this spring. Now, to start off with, you get the Lawnmower 4.0. Guys, we have talked about this. What is wrong with us? Why have we for so long been using these terrible tools that were never meant for cutting our hair down there? The razor clipper things on our electric razors. That's barbaric, guys. You need the Lawnmower 4.0. And then there's the Weed Whacker. You guys have heard our own Ray Ora talk about this thing. He loves using it to get that hair in your nose and the ear hair. And then they offer lots of other stuff like the Crop Preserver. It's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. The Crop Reviver. It's a spray-on toner for your balls. And of course, they've got the perfect grooming tool for your face with the Plow 2.0, the perfect razor for the finest shave on that face. So guys, get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Campea. That's CAMPEA at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Campea at manscaped.com. It's time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life.